Well, today we're with Amanda Walsh, our favorite tour guide in Ireland. Amanda qualified as a national tourist guide in 2001 and works as a freelance guide. In addition to guiding through Ireland's 32 counties, Amanda also is an experienced event coordinator. She is a member of the Association of Approved Tourist Guides of Ireland. Amanda has an MA degree in international tourism. Her MA degree thesis was titled Film Induced Tourism at Heritage Sites, Curse or Blessing at Skellig Michael. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here this afternoon, on this sunny afternoon.
Yes, I understand it's a cracking 30 degrees or more Celsius over there with the sun shining, blazing in the skies.
Blazing. There isn't a cloud in the sky, which, as you know, is quite unusual here. So we are over 30 degrees and it is sweltering because we don't have air conditioning like you have at home. So for us, to get a breeze through the house, you open the windows, but there isn't, as we say, there isn't a puff of air. They say you could fry an egg on a stone right now.
Well, I bet you a lot of people are at the beach.
Beaches are crowded, but people are respecting the social distancing as well. So, groups are 2 meters apart. So thankfully we're an island and we have a lot of coastline. So we have a lot of beaches to accommodate them.
Yeah. Well, what is your favorite beach?
Well, Mike, you know the answer to that question. So,
yes.
Yes.
I do.
So I'm from Ballybunion, as you know.
Yes.
And we're very blessed. We have 3 beaches, 4 really. We have what's called the Nuns Beach. We have the Men's Beach, the Ladies Beach, and the Long Beach. So to explain those to you, I was brought up in Ballybunion, as you know. For those of us that love golfing, it's one of the top 10 courses in the world. And so along by that, they're sand dune, they're links courses. So we have a very long beach by the courses, which is where very few people would go to sunbathe because the facilities and the amenities and the Seaweed Baths, which I know you love, are all located up by the Ladies' Beach. So from where I lived, you crossed the street and there was the convent, the Sisters of Mercy, or as I like to call them, the Sisters of No Mercy, because I was educated by them for quite a long time. Anyhow, beyond that, there was a cove, and the only people that were allowed to go down to it were the nuns.
Oh.
And today there's a rope that brings you down the cliff to it. So it's really quite secluded. It's probably on lots of TripAdvisor websites of one of the best beaches in Ireland. Then there's the Ladies' Beach, because there's a cliff between that as well. And that's the ladies could only go there. And then there's the Men's Beach, which is another secluded kind of beach. And that's where the men went. And there is actually video footage of this.
I understand. So, well, I might say I had the Sisters of Charity in school.
And were they the Sisters of Charity, Mike?
Most of them were, but some weren't.
Yes, there's some that will stay with us.
Yeah. Well, now, speaking of beaches, I guess one of the advantages of the beaches in Ballybunion, I don't believe you can drive your cars on the beach there like you can in Inch Beach. And I saw a photo where the beach was packed with cars parked on the beach and people.
There was 4 rows of cars on the beach in Inch. And as you know, Inch is, I suppose, while we like to go to Ballybunion because that's where I'm from, and we have the facilities and the amenities, and Sammy's is in Inch, which is, and Kilkenny Design, they have a shop and they have a cafeteria and they have a little pub there and everything. But you can drive down there and there is miles of coastline and they just continue down further and further. But as you know, the problem with that is if you're not from the area, the tide comes in quite quickly. And there has been occasion where the cars have to be pulled out of with the local tractors. So, and our friend Dora lives in Inch.
Yes.
We have one of our team, and Dora has experienced and seen that for herself as well. So she'll be telling our visitors of that as well.
Now, a little bird has told me that there's another attraction in Ballybunion I've heard about, the Seaweed Baths.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us some about the Seaweed Baths there?
I can. So I have a daughter, 11, and some of you that would have seen our Hooli night would have seen Cliona. And I keep telling her that at 11, I was working on the beaches in the cafes and part of that was Collins's. So I worked for Collins's Seaweed Baths. If anyone wants to look them up, Claire and Gary work with their dad, Seamus, now. And they have a fantastic setup there, whereby they have what I've been informed is a gator that goes to the Black Rocks. It's an area just to the west of the cafeteria and Seaweed Baths and all of that. They bring in the seaweed, and the seaweed is really great for even if you rubbed it against your skin, for rheumatoid arthritis, for your digestion, for cholesterol, for all of those things. They say cholesterol. What I mean by that now is that it's good for just rubbing and looking at, you know, your skin just glowing as such. And we've skin creams, and Green Angel is one, Sea Vite is another that's made with the seaweed. But they bring it in, they have the water pumped in from the sea. You're in a Victorian style bath. You get into the bath itself, which is then the water is poured in on top of the seaweed. The oils come out, and then you're allowed into the bath, and you're there for 20 minutes. Now, the idea is that you have this that opens the pores and so on, and then you're supposed to make your way into the ocean and cool off.
Oh, nice.
But most people don't do that.
Nice.
Just do the bath.
Well, Victoria and I will have to experience that someday, but I've seen those tubs, and you're right, they are Victorian tubs with the clawfoots and everything. So
yeah.
We may pass on that. We'll see.
But it's a great, you know, what I love about it, it's a tradition that goes through the generations. I was lucky enough to work for Claire and Gary's mother, Mary, and her mother was also there, and we used to look after her as well in the evenings and so on. So the photos of Ballybunion and the Gled Road, which is where the end of the road to the beach is, where that gator would go to get to the Black Rocks. They had a little cottage there, so they're going back. You know, they've been in Ballybunion since its foundation almost.
I see. And now you are presently in Tralee.
I am.
I want to ask you, in County Kerry, what would you, in your opinion, would be the top 3 things of County Kerry that County Kerry is famous for?
County Kerry is famous
There's so many.
for.
I know there's so many things it's famous for, but let me narrow it down to the top 3 things.
Okay. Well, I have to say, and I'll keep one north and south of Kerry, because there's kind of a boundary almost in Kerry, you know, north of, because Killarney is our tourism centre, and that Tralee is where I live, but it's more the industrial centre, and there is a boundary of North Kerry, South Kerry. It's kind of like South Carolina, North Carolina, but it is, I would say, and you should check out, did you see my WhatsApp profile? I have a beautiful view that I took the other night, a picture of the lakes of Killarney when the sun was setting. Yeah. You have to say, with the McGillicuddy Reeks in the background, with the Gap of Dunlow in the distance from where I was, I know that our guests are looking out on that, which is fabulous. And looking on Carrauntoohil. And as you know, I climbed Carrauntoohil recently, which for those of you who will be listening to this, is the highest mountain in Ireland, and it's 1,038 meters, so about 3,500 foot. So for you in the States, you might call it a hill, but we call it a mountain here. Right. That's one of my top 3. The other, I guess that it's known for the Rose of Tralee Festival. I would have to say that, you know, it is a festival that's going over 60 years. It is something that we're widely recognized throughout the world. The United States would be a big part of that, with the Irish centres that we have there. For those of you not familiar with the Rose of Tralee, there's a great story to it. I won't go into that now. I will tell you that when you're here. But it's a festival that recognises young women that are of Irish ancestry and that are dotted all over the world. And it's about what they have contributed to society, really. And for a week in August, they come here and they are given a whale of a time, as we'd say, and they have great crack as well. Another one of our sayings, where they've great fun. And as Mike would mention, you know, they had a hoolie, which is, they had lots of evenings where they had great music, song, dance, all of that. And so my daughter then, some years ago, you'll remember this, Mike, she was a rosebud. Yeah, so she was, a rosebud is like a junior rose that goes with the rose. So the rose of Maryland, or the rose of Washington, or the rose of New York, Boston, wherever it may be. Cleena was picked to go with the rose from Newfoundland and Labrador. So Bridget Abbott was her name. And they had a great time, and she really looked out for her. So we had a great insight into what the festival was like. And it is unfortunate that this year again it's been postponed, but next year, please God, we'll be back in action again.
Oh,
so that's the second thing. And I suppose the third thing that I love about Kerry is that our history is such that, you know, we were overtaken by the British, the Anglo-Normans, for 700 years. And we have such a history, you know, beyond that, you know, far back, you know, you have the Boston Celts, or the Boston Celts, you might call it, but we call them Celts. And we're down in the likes of Kenmare, I have to say, the shrubberies, when we go and we see the stone circle, and you see this ancient site that was there thousands of years ago and is still there today. And again, it's because of the people of the town. They have, the family that own the ground there, they have looked after it. And it's because of that then that I can bring the visitors to that and tell them about our archaeological sites and the importance of the sites and the importance of us as a nation, remembering our customs and our heritage and our culture. Yeah. So, and as you know, Mike, I try to impart all of that with the guests as well when we're traveling.
Yes, well, I agree with you. Those top three, Lakes of Killarney, I thought you might have said Kerrygold butter.
But you see, that's a regular here, so it's not something that, you know, we have to worry about.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's our favorite. We buy blocks of it at a time in our local grocery here, so we're very blessed to have Kerrygold butter here right down the street.
Yes, so, but you see, if you're going to go down that road, then you're going to have to talk about Guinness and Murphy's and Jameson and Murphy's ice cream and Dingle, and, you know, the Dingle gin and the Dingle whiskey. So we have a lot to offer in Kerry.
Yeah, the food is wonderful.
A lot of artisan products, yeah.
I agree. And so, well, now let's move on to some of the hidden gems over there that, if you care to share those with us, some of the places and things to do that where you can get away from the crowds and tourists and just explore on your own and see a lot of wonderful things, perhaps in private without a lot of people around.
Okay, so one of the things that I've again, like a lot of people, I'm sure, I've discovered an awful lot about my own county that I wasn't too sure of, that I hadn't. As you know, I've got really into the hiking over the last number of months, I suppose the last year. So just from the hotel, actually, just from the Dunlow, you could walk up towards the Gap of Dunlow and just take a wander past Kate Carney's cottage, and up to the right there, there is the hill. Well, it's 1,000 foot, Strickeen. If you were only, it's a zigzag, so it goes one level. It's like an old sheep's path, you know, and you can go a short distance up there and you get the most wonderful views of the lakes. And that's a view that a lot of people don't get because they're from it's the road less traveled. When you are talking about Kerry and the unknown, I suppose I love ring forts, I love the archaeology. So Stake Fort is the most well-preserved archaeological site really that we have, the most well-preserved ring fort. It's a stone fort. And it's about 4 miles off the main road, and it brings you to a beautiful area high up overlooking Kenmare Bay. And you're also by a creek, as you'd call it, we'd call it a stream. And when you sit there, it is just a very magical and very spiritual. The Skellig Islands, you mentioned them when you introduced me. They are probably my spiritual home. I've been to the islands. And just to tell people, they're a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They were designated as such back in 1986. And they are 2 islands, one's Gannet Colony and the other is monastic site. Monks lived there from 600 AD until about the 13th century. And there's 600 steps to the top. And again, the area is known as Christ Saddle, one of the areas you'd be looking at. And you also have the monastic site, and you're looking out at the horizon. And you have to imagine that these people, these monks, were looking out at the horizon. they were sent there because of the heinous crimes that they had committed. Not all of the monks were of the religious type. They got into it by accident, so to speak. And so they were looking out at the horizon and wondering what was beyond that, you know. So I got that feeling when I was at the Grand Canyon as well. So
nice.
that's another, magical spot.
I wanted to say, Victoria and I were at the Stag Fort on the Ring of Kerry there in 2007. And we had a lovely afternoon there. The weather was great. As you said, the views are great. But one thing I discovered, there was on the side road there at the intersection, as we were leaving the fort, we were coming down a small side road, and we're coming up to the T-junction.
Very good.
One of the strangest things, what you see over there, and in my experience, has a lot of strange locations for road signs. And so there was a road sign there that a speed limit sign, 80 kilometers an hour, which is about almost 50 miles an hour. And it was placed about 20 yards before a stop sign. And that was so unusual, because why would you place a speed limit sign of 80 kilometers an hour 20 yards prior to a stop sign? If you get
well, I'd say the road you were on was probably 50, you see, 50 kilometers per hour, because that road is really, really narrow.
It is.
And that's why it's a hidden gem, because you can't take any large size vehicle up there.
I don't think you want to be going 80
kilometers to a stop
20 yards
sign.
before a stop sign. And
or the other one you like, you remember you mentioned this to me, traffic calming, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. And then another one out there, in fact, this was on the Barra Peninsula. And I have photographic evidence of these. So, and I always show those to friends where there's a boreen. And if you want to tell people what a boreen is,
we would call it probably boreen. Boreen is where you have a really small, narrow road. I'm just trying to say narrow here, narrow road, and there's grass growing in the middle of it. So it's very, very limited in the travel that it would have. So, you're in trouble when you're on a boreen.
You are, and I didn't wander down there because, again, you described it perfectly. It's a narrow road with two-way traffic and bends and curves and hills and all. But again, there was this 80 kilometers an hour on a boreen with a blind curve. So you're not going to go 80 kilometers an hour. And so people tell me that maybe the roadworks people, when they were finishing up in the day and they had an extra sign to post and to stick in the ground, they just stuck it wherever they were, no matter what.
Then that when you're on a main road, on the national roadways, the N7 or whatever it may be, that only goes up to 100. So you have this boreen with 80 kilometers per hour, and then you have a main road, with maybe two carriages either side, and that's 100. So there are a lot of contradictions in Ireland, as you know.
Yes. Well, I tell you, we can shortly finish it up here, and I was wondering if you have any messages for our American tourists here in the States, vaccinated tourists who are ready to come over there, and we're missing it. We hope maybe we will get over there ourselves later this year, but certainly we definitely want to be there next year with our tour groups.
Well, we're doing really well here with our vaccinations, because now the 18-year-olds can go into the pharmacy and get their one-shot vaccination. So we're all doing really well here. We're reopening up next Monday for inside dining, but again, it will be 1 meter apart for our tables. So every week we're seeing an improvement, thankfully. So we're all out and about. We can meet with family again. We can travel throughout the land, because for a long time it was 2 kilometers, then it was 5 kilometers, then it was within the county, and now it's throughout Ireland. So we're actually seeing foreign cars in here, European cars now. cars from the UK, cars from Northern Ireland, and we are seeing visitors around. It's really, really busy, and the sunshine is drawing everybody out, and Ireland is looking wonderful, and we are so looking forward to welcome you back. One of the great things that I've seen lately is planes in the sky. It's just a great thing to see. We haven't seen it here because we haven't allowed in international visitors until very recently. So now that we can do, and that we have opened our skies, it's wonderful to see.
Oh, good. Well, we've had many great times with you and Dora and Karen and the tour guides and our coach drivers, and we really want to come back real soon. So we will do our best to gather up some people who want to come over there and enjoy themselves. And we'll be seeing you hopefully as soon as June 2022.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yep, that's the plan. So, well, Amanda, thank you very much for taking the time today to chat with us.
You're very welcome. Tough all the road.
And we will be talking to you again, I'm sure, very soon. Perhaps we could do this again next month for an update on what's going on. And
absolutely, I'd love that.
I think we just touched the tip of the iceberg here on what talking about things.
Yeah.
So, well,
and if any of your friends have any queries or questions, and if they want to, go through you, and then we could answer those and see how we're doing.
We'll do that. So Amanda, thanks again. Have a great week and weekend coming up, and wear that sunscreen.
I will, Mike. Thank you very much.
Okay. We'll see you.
All right, Sloan.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.